with us. And if you're just joining, this is the Idea Morning Digest, and it's time for the discussion segment. And yes, I think today's story, should I say, is a major development in Nigeria's digital landscape because the Nigerian Communications Commission has just licensed 6 new internet service providers, bringing the total number of ISPs in the country to 231. But while this looks like a win for competition, I think the real question is, can these new entrants survive in a market dominated by big telecom operators and powerful satellite providers like Starlink? So Nigeria's broadband market is currently facing intense pressure from, cheaper mobile data, heavy infrastructure costs, and the fast growth of satellite internet. So this licensing move might be a sign of progress or a sign of market about to get even more crowded. Now let's break this down. Licensing 6 new ISPs sounds positive, but the reality is more complex. Traditional ISPs are already struggling with cheaper data from MTN, already struggling with cheaper data from Airtel, from Globacom, and from 9Mobile. Add Starlink and the incoming Amazon Cooper into the mix, and you have a market where only the strongest survive. So another question I'm asking this morning is Nigeria's internet market becoming more competitive or more unfair? Let's talk about this, what it means for consumers, what it means for small ISPs, and when I mean ISPs, I mean internet service providers, and then the future of broadband in Nigeria. First of all, so the NCC licensing these 6 new ISPs, it sounds like progress to me. More competition, we'll have more options, right? So, rightly so. But, the moment I look at it, I took a deep dive into it. I didn't feel that excitement anymore, because Nigeria's internet market is not just about counting how many internet service providers we have out there. It's not just about counting the numbers. It's about who actually has the power to stay in the game. And when I mean stay in the game, it's not about competition on the level of these internet service providers. It's about how they can stay in the game and provide service to the people, provide what the people need, provide what consumers need. We're talking about market saturation and the market growth here. Here's what I'm thinking. 231 licensed ISPs, that's internet service providers. I think I have to get used to call it saying internet service providers so people can understand out there. It's a lot. But I think the reality is most of those licenses are like permission chips. They are not real businesses with sustainable models. And what we are hoping to see is that we are hoping that these 231 ISPs are here with that sustainability effort, that sustainability model. It's not the ones that will be hearing names of different internet service providers, but then at the end of the day, we cannot use them. They are not translating into any meaningful use. And you can see when you have when you have that many players in the game, what you usually see, what usually happens is that only a few have the capital at the end of the day. Only a few of them will have that infrastructure and that network to compete. Before we look at it, we'll see that the rest of the ISPs will just be, okay, the NCC launched how many, the NCC approved how many, and these are the names. It will just be on paper, like we always used to say it. It will just be on paper, and they will just be existing. They'll be existing on the registry, but on the market, they are nowhere to be found. So I think the problem is that Nigeria's broadband market is not growing fast enough to, support that many players in the game. And, the our consumer base in Nigeria is growing. And it is growing, and it still has this price, it's still very price sensitive in as much as it is growing. Everybody is becoming connected, but can people afford connectivity? Can people afford network services? Because a lot of people are satisfied with mobile data because it is convenient and cheap. is why people are using it. So when we talk about moving to satellite, moving to other broadband coverage, can people, or coverages, can people afford it? Talking about even all of these broadband connectivity and coverages, how many people can even afford all of these spectral nets, Wi-Fi and all of those intranet, and what do they call it? Most times people just rely on their data. Even to use computers, all other more sophisticated gadgets, people connect through their phones. People connect using network provider services. That is what people can afford. So we just want, in the long run, let people be able to afford these things. We don't want a case where the consumers will start bearing the losses of internet service providers. So yes, the market is crowded, but I think it is truly growing. We understand that it is truly growing, but is it fast enough? Is it growing fast enough to accommodate 231 ISPs to thrive? That is the question, and it's a very, very pertinent question there. And I think we'll have a guest on the show come talk about this proper, an expert in this field, come talk about this proper. But then, now let's talk about where the real competition is. We have MTN, we have Airtel, we have Glo, we have, Nine Mobile, and now we're including Starlink in it. And people think ISPs are, all of these internet service providers compete with ISPs. But the truth is that ISPs are competing with mobile network operators, because this is what we rely on the most. All of those Globacom, MTN, Airtel and whatnot. Those are what people rely on in Nigeria. So bringing in satellite ISPs and whatnot, it's like they're going to start competing now with network operators. And, mobile operators have something ISP don't. They have that nationwide reach. They have that, massive infrastructure to cover for a lot of people, for a large number of people, to far places. They can reach a very wide range of places, and they have that marketing power. They are always in people's faces, and they can offer cheap data bundles for people. So that is where my question lies. I'm just thinking, how are they going to compete? Because a lot of people cannot offer some of these services from satellite, from all of those other, network providers. And then you have Starlink there, which is a whole different game. I know Starlink is becoming a household name these days. A lot of people are using Starlink, but then Starlink is not worried about cables. Starlink is not worried about fibers or urban infrastructure. They don't need to build all of those towers. They don't need to build all of those ley lines. All they need is just beam internet from space. That is what Starlink needs. So if you are a local ISP, if you are a local internet service provider, I just feel like you are not just competing with MTN again. You are competing with global satellite company now, because the Nigerian NCC have allowed that to happen now, allowed everybody to thrive. So everybody can just have options. I think that's the positive side of it. Consumers can have options. But then local ISPs should understand that they are now competing with, that's global, on the global stage now, with global satellite company, because Starlink is a global satellite company. They are not competing with, deep pockets and aggressive growth plans. So if you don't charge up, if you don't step up your game, you are going to, be laid off on the way. And I'll say something, I always have unpopular opinions, and I'll just say that, most of these local ISPs, if they don't innovate, they have to innovate fast, first of all, because if they don't think of how they can innovate fast and bring everybody along, many of them won't survive this, because they will become victims of markets that move faster than they can. Are they ready? Have they put the right infrastructure in place? I think this is even a charge to them. The fact that NCC are saying otherwise, that, the sky is big and is big enough for everyone to fly. But then why ISPs are still clustered in cities? We're talking about high infrastructure costs. which makes it very difficult to expand to rural areas. And this is one of the most important points people miss, because ISPs are not expanding to rural areas because it is expensive. It is not because they don't care. It is not because, the cost is simply too high. I just feel like to reach rural communities, you need fiber infrastructure, you need towers, you need power supply, you need maintenance teams, you need, consistency as well. You need security, you need very, very strong revenue generation. You need consistent, and that revenue should be consistent. But rural demand is low and incomes are unstable. So that's where the problem is. So many ISPs now prefer to stay in the city where we have businesses, where a lot of people are in need of, network services, where you have schools, where you have institutions that also pay, the pay is reliable. So that is where they are. But I feel like this is why the country still have massive internet inequality. It's not just about rolling out 231 internet service providers. It's about reach now. It's about inclusivity. Talking about that digital gap, like I said before, technology, gadgets and whatnot. Technology is not the problem here. It's about reach, it's about inclusivity, it's about how we can, that is how we can build, that digital divide we are talking about. So the people have to, first of all, like I said before, trust in the system. Infrastructure facilities have to be put in place. And, because all of these urban areas, they get fast internet, and you see that rural areas still struggle with weak connectivity. This is because there is no broader reach. So it's not rolling out, it's how these people can go down to rural areas. It's how these internet service providers can ensure that there is wide coverage for, everybody. MTN tries with that, but I think these are all the gaps that satellite internet providers can exploit. If they can see how they can, reach all of these nooks and crannies, I think it will be very, very good, because we can't just rely on infrastructure alone. We have to talk about how this infrastructure can meet and go down to, different places. And when we talk about this, we also have to talk about innovation, and the fact that innovation isn't just about technology. And this is where I feel that local ISPs can still win. Yes, because they can reach people faster than, all of those satellites and, bigger internet companies can reach people, but only if they can shift their thinking, because the internet market is, when we look at the internet market, it is no longer just about internet access any longer. People want value, and especially value for what they are paying for. People are paying high for data. People are paying high for network. So they want to see value for it, and they want solutions as well. So I think local ISPs should just focus on reliable customer support. They can just exploit those options of bringing customized packages and find a way to create local content that people can understand. Create business packages for small, because our economy in Nigeria thrives on small businesses, thrive on the SMEs. So we should find a way to create packages for all of these small businesses, because they use them a lot. And then find a way to educate, people, create e-learning bundles so that people can understand a lot of things, and, ensure that there's security for people. Most importantly, ensure that there's security. We cannot even talk about internet coverage, all of this broadband coverage, without talking about security. Very, very important. And if a local ISP can offer a service that solves a specific need, it's more like a business needing stable internet, for online payments, and they can solve it for them. That business can be assured that they can survive. Local ISPs have won in that case. So I think they should just explore most of these options. But if they are only selling internet access, that is not what people want. People want value for their money. People want to understand things. People want to trust a system. And this is where internet, I think all of those local ISPs can even explore. It's like I'm giving free free tips to local ISPs. But I just feel like this is the way to go, because this is what people rely on the most, and it's quite cheaper compared to all of those more advanced and sophisticated internet service providers. So I just feel like if we must drive, I just have the concern of the people at heart. If we must strive, if all of us must strive, including internet service providers and customers or consumers, then we just ensure that there is a win-win for it's a win-win situation for everybody, because access alone, like I said before, is no longer a luxury. It's a basic expectation. So we should treat, in as much as they are trying to create internet access, they should see how to create value as well with creating this internet access. I think that's the basic expectation from people. And then what Nigeria needs is fair regulation as well. And the big question here is, does the NCC even have a plan to protect smaller ISPs? Because we cannot completely rule them out of the game. I'm seeing a very huge competition here. Even if competition is allowed, I think that the competition can be healthy and unhealthy at the same time. It can be negative and positive. It can be positive because it will want to force all internet service providers to, do well. In that case, people might be able to, get access to network. People might be able to, buy data at cheaper rates. But then it could bring the negativity that lies with it is that most of these ISPs, especially local ones, may not be able to stand this competition and may go out of business. And people will suffer because most people, like I said, starting off, cannot afford costly, cannot afford expensive internet access. So we need cheaper ones, and that's why we rely on most of these local internet service providers. And if they can't stand the competition and they go out of business, who suffers? People, the consumers. So I feel like this market is getting more competitive. It's getting more competitive, but it is necessarily fair. It is necessarily fair, but it has to be done in the right way. And if nothing is done, the market could become, a duopoly, or how do they even call it? I want to use a very simple term, but we just have a market where only the biggest players survive at the end of the day. And I feel like what would defeat the purpose of licensing new ISPs, what should happen is that the NCC should ensure that there is a fair playing ground. There is fair access also to infrastructure, both for ISPs, both for consumers. There should be fair pricing. There should be fair pricing. There should be, transparent policies that will back everybody. They should also support small ISPs, like I said before. They should support small ISPs, support all of these local ISPs, and find a way to protect them against that, negative competitive practices. Is very, very important, because if they don't, we might just end up with a market where all of those big players will end up controlling everything, and then small ones will disappear. Like I said before, they'll disappear quietly, and who suffers? The consumers suffers. But I think I've said a lot today. Like I said before, we are going to bring an expert in this field to come talk about it and give us better understanding, give us a balanced perspective about this. But this is the much I can bring your way on the discussion segment here on the Idea Morning Digest. Just so you know that, the ISP market in Nigeria is clearly evolving fast, but we have so many questions, and these are some of the questions that the expert will be bringing, is going to be answering. And some of these questions is, who will win the internet race? Is it the big telecom giants? Is it those global satellite providers, or those local ISPs, with strong market value or with strong customer base? Who is going to win this? We want to know. We want to know. Send in your comments. We want you to continue to, follow us, join the conversations, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, follow us on TikTok, on LinkedIn, all of our social media platforms. You can also join the conversations, sending in your comments too via our email at Idea TV Limited. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you think about this. But yes, my name is Cynthia Bassi, and this is the much I can bring your way today. See you tomorrow.